want to tell you that I love this church, right? And I realize that's about like your mom telling you you're handsome. That doesn't really mean anything. I get that. But I can genuinely say to you that if I were not the pastor of this church, I would still want to be a part of this church. I might enjoy it more. I would still want to be a part of this church because I love this church, and I've tried to pin down what it is that I love about the church. And I think what it comes down to is that we're not trying to be anybody else. We're not trying to compete with anybody else. I'm happy for all the other churches. I'm not really interested in what they're doing. We're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to do it with the people that God has given us in the way that works best for us. And I love that we do that. When we look at what makes the church special, it's really not me. It's the people of the church. It's the people that make it up, the people that step up and serve. And I'm not, this is not just my opinion. This is actually what Paul says about what it is that makes up a church and what makes a church function. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, this is what Paul said about that. He said, the body, and this is the body of Jesus, the body of Christ in the world, which is church, does not consist of one member, but of many. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. He says that a church is made up not just of one, but of many. And I don't really care what any other churches are doing. Like, I'll have people ask me, what do you think about what this church is? Like, first I've heard of it, I don't care what they're doing. Like, praise God, get it done. That's their business. This is my business. But I heard a guy talk about what the problem is when people start complaining about mega churches, what the problem is. And it's really not the issue of size, because this same problem can exist in big churches or small churches. The problem that exists in, let's say, the big churches you can think about if you want to complain about that, when there is a problem, is that the body consists of a few people with lots of other people consuming what those few people are doing. And the same problem can exist here. If I do everything because I'm convinced I can do it better, then the body consists of one, with lots of other people consuming what one is doing. And it can be the same thing in a church of thousands, that you have a staff of 10 or 15, but the body consists of a few while the rest consume what those few are doing. And no matter how big the church is, because I don't have rocks to throw at mega churches. I don't care. The problem comes not with the size of the church, but with the people that make up the church. And if we said, you know what, we're not going to ask anything of anybody, so every time we need a job done, we're going to hire somebody, rather than asking the body to serve, then we have a problem, because it's not the church the way that Jesus ordered it. The body does not consist of one member or just a few members, but of many. And all those members are different. And when I say member, you need to understand, we're not talking about church member, okay? We're talking about members of the body, pieces of the body parts, the anatomy of the church. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. That these different pieces have different functions and different roles. And some feel less important, and some feel more important. And some work not at odds with one another, but for different purposes. And it can feel like the foot is the enemy of the ear, because all the foot cares about is balance. And all the ear cares about is listening. And you think that you're on opposite sides of things, but really you're both working together towards the purpose of the whole. And that's what the church is supposed to be, that the church functions. Our church will only function when each piece has its place and functions properly in that place. And what I want to do today is a little bit different. And so if you're a first-time guest today, understand this is going to be a little bit different. But I want to take this, and I just want to introduce you I'm trying to find a non-weird way to say this, but I'm just going to go for it and just whatever. I want to introduce you to our body, okay? Just want to talk to you about that. Because sometimes the foot doesn't understand what the ear is doing, and you don't recognize what's happening in places that you're not working. And I just want to talk to you through this. We have the best deacons it is possible to have. We've had deacons for 3 years now? Something like that. And so we don't have a culture of having deacons. We get to start a culture of having deacons, and it's not a group of people that run things, but it's a group of people who do what deacons are intended to do, which is to serve. And I was going through this list of things, and I realized all of our deacons end up in leadership roles, but it's not because they're deacons, it's because they're the kind of people that we would put in a leadership role, which is why we made them deacons in the first place, because we trust them. But we have 7 deacons, and I've got all this written down because I know I'm going to forget somebody. If you're a deacon, stand up for me. Hey, Clayton, stick your head in here. If you're a deacon, stand up for me. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the last one. You can go back in. I just want you to stick your head in. People see your face. Y'all can sit back down. Let me tell you what our deacons do. First of all, our deacons, they have 3 jobs as deacons. That is they have a group of people, and they're supposed to pray for those people every day. You have someone, there's too many for me to pray for every day, guys. I have a tendency to hit the highlights. You have someone that is praying for you and your family every day. Their job is to look for you every week. To look for you and to make sure that you're here. And if you're not here, they check in on you to find out what's going on. The third thing that they do is that they're supposed to speak with you at some point. Them or their wives speak with you every time throughout the month to just make sure you're okay. Make sure you have somebody to talk to. And they fulfill that role really, really well. They're not perfect, but they do the good job. And I didn't have their wives stand up, even though their wives are a huge part of that, but that's because I'm going to get to their wives in just a minute. So, Clay is a small group leader. How long have you been leading a small group, Clay? 5 years now? Continually. He's on the finance committee, he's on the long-range planning committee, and Clay checks on me more than anybody else. Now, Dennis is a close second, okay? But he's kind of taken that on as his role, is to check on me regularly. David was a small group leader. He's the only reason he's not a small group leader right now is because I told him he had to take a break. He had been leading small groups since we first started small groups in April of 2020. Up until December of this year. And I wanted David to continue to be able to serve for a long time, so I told him he had to take a break and rest. David's on the finance committee. He's the assistant treasurer. Angela is the treasurer, and she takes care of the money from day to day, but David is the one that's looking forward at the future, handling budgets, doing all of that. And David is here every Wednesday. He's here every Wednesday, whether he's teaching a class or not. He is here working, and he has been since I've been here. David's been here more Wednesdays than I have since I've been here. Justin, the small group leader, been a small group leader for years now. I don't even know how long he's been doing that. He heads up everything to do with safety around here, fire codes, dealing with the fire department, all of that stuff. He's on the building committee, and he serves on the worship team. He's up here all the time, and we'll talk about the worship team in a minute, but you have no idea how much time the worship team spends up here. Dennis is up here for 2 hours every other Monday working on the food pantry, and he is here a bunch of other times throughout the week. You would think he would have a key at this point as often as he is here, but he carries Linda's key around with a big old stick on it so it doesn't get lost. Dennis is ready to drive the van every Wednesday night for these kids to be here. He's a Wednesday night volunteer. He's always here. Dennis checks on me all the time. The first person to go help with something is Dennis. And it's funny, if you were to look at the volunteer schedule, I don't think there's an area, except worship team, we won't let him up here, that Dennis doesn't serve in. And he loves to do it. He loves these kids. And he led a huddle group out here. And he was always like 15 or 20 minutes behind everybody else because he wanted those kids to hear the gospel. And he took forever to do it. But he was out there serving with them because he loves those kids. He's the first to go help, and he just serves everywhere. Derek and Grant are our newest ones. Derek is a small group co-leader. He's been for a couple semesters. He's on the finance committee. He is here every Wednesday night working with one of those classes. He's not a teacher in the class, but he is there every Wednesday night playing those games with those kids, working on those. He's on the worship team, and because he's Brittany's brother and she's in charge of this, he gets asked to do stuff generally first. It'll be him or Emily that get asked to do something first. He's up here all the time working on stuff. Grant is a small group leader. He's here, a co-leader. He is here on Wednesday nights. He's on the long-range planning committee. He does other things around those areas. But the thing that you don't know about Grant is that Grant runs a one-person ministry that we don't talk about and that only I have a name for, okay? And that's called the Barnabas Ministry. And I asked Grant to be the person that makes sure everybody has somebody. To look around and say, who are the people that don't have anybody in the church? Who are the ones that aren't connected? Miss Karen, and I'll talk about Miss Karen in just a minute, but she goes through and she does phone calls, or she assigns contacts every week for guests when they come in. I think it's the third week is Grant, to find out who is somebody that can talk to that person, who is somebody that can reach out to that person, to make sure not just that they know about a ministry or a small group, but that they are connected. Clayton has been a small group leader. He was leading small groups before we had small groups. I don't know how that worked, but he did it. He's been the building committee chair almost since I first got here. He is the one fixing stuff all the time. He was in here taking apart a toilet before Camp Rock. He's going to be out here mowing. He's going to fix the mowers when other people break it. He is the primary go-to on fixing everything. Clayton honestly probably spends 20 hours a month up here working, if not more. And he spent more than that before I got here, and I told him he had to do less. And he's a little irritated with me about that, but he's got to do less, and he's here every Wednesday night to help with these kids and work on it. These deacons serve and make this church function, and if it were just me, we'd be able to have okay sermons, and some other stuff would get done, but if it wasn't for these guys, we wouldn't get nearly as much done. Sundays. And I struggle to talk about this on Sundays and what happens on Sundays because Brittany does so much of it and she is my wife. And I don't want it to be like I'm just up here talking about my wife all the time or that I'm doing that. But I think you know how important she is to what happens at this church. I don't think you know how many hours she spends working on worship stuff every week. I know you don't. Because it's not just picking out songs. Like, we got to make sure it's the right keys, and we got to make sure that these people can sing this key, and this guitarist can't play these chords, and this is happening here, and this is happening there. And I make her job extraordinarily more difficult than it needs to be. Because I've said that one of the core values that we're going to have is we're not going to have an A-team. We're not just going to put the best people up here every week. We're going to use all those people that God has given us that have even a little bit of talent to serve up here, and that makes her job significantly harder. It would probably take half as much time if I didn't have her do that. She ran the interior design team whenever we were doing the new addition. She works with the teens every week. She's on the building committee, and she's always up here throwing stuff away or organizing stuff and putting stuff together. Too much. I tell her to go home, and she doesn't listen. She ran Camp Rock, and that took months to plan and get ready. She organizes and decorates, runs a worship team, and all these other things. And we need people to serve like her. Now, let me tell you something about Clayton and Brittany, is they serve too much. And I'm trying to get both of them to stop. But they get things done around here that if they weren't done, you would notice. But you don't notice because it gets done. Addison took over our tech team, working with the tech volunteers and running the sound, and he makes all of that happen every week. He's up here all the time working on stuff. I'll just come out and Addison is here. And no idea that he's here, but he's up here working. Guys, he spent hours watching YouTube videos and reading theater forums, there is such a thing, to figure out how to design this microphone so I could wear it on my ear comfortably and not have to spend $600 on one from the store. Addison's up here training tech volunteers. Let me go back just a second. If you're on Brittany, go ahead and stand up. Where you at? Where's the rest of if you serve on the worship team, will you stand up, please? Guys, these guys are spending a couple of hours every other week up here practicing and serving in that way. Y'all can sit down. Thank you for that. Addison, where's my tech? If you're a tech volunteer, if you work in the sound booth, do any of that, stand up for me. Addison, stand up. I know we got a bunch of y'all. They are the ones that make sure things go smoothly on Sunday mornings. Thank you. You can grab a seat. Tori and Lily run our volunteers. Tori does the line share with that. Tori and Lily, y'all stand up. Like all the making sure we have people in the nursery, making sure we have people, y'all can sit down, making sure we have people in classes, making sure we have safety. And that should be just as easy as scheduling people, right? We pay for software. It should be really easy. But they've also got to deal with some people that are sick, or people that just don't bother to show up because they figure it'll work out. It always seems to. Or people that like, oh, I forgot to put my blackout dates in. It's really difficult for me to do that. I forgot to do that. And guys, this is a job that we burn people out on faster than anything else because it's hard. It's not just hard to organize, it's emotionally difficult to be the one that people constantly complain to about when they're scheduled to work or how they're scheduled to work. People that won't just pay you the little bit of respect of letting you know a couple of days earlier that you're not going to make it. It's a difficult job, and that's why I told Tori she couldn't do it by herself. She had to have somebody else working with her. We go into our adult ministries and talk about our small groups. I've already had the deacons stand up that lead, but also Lane and Tyler, both. Lane leads the groups. Lane and Tyler, y'all stand up. Lane and Tyler are both leading groups or co-leading groups. Tyler is going to go from being a co-leader this year to stepping up and leading a small group on all of that. Lane, also on the worship team, works a lot of other positions, does just all kinds of things. Tyler is similar. He's here every Wednesday night working with those kids, playing with those kids, playing with the guitar enthusiastically with those kids, looking for ways to serve. They also are my go-tos when I need somebody to preach for me. If you're a small group leader, a host, or a spouse of one of those, would you stand up for me? Kim, you're a spouse of a leader. Right. We got other people. Y'all can go ahead and grab a seat. There are other people in the room that are not standing up that make that happen. Mike is not here today, but Mike took a step back from a lot of the jobs that he was doing and is taking on some things that are more along what he should be doing. He's running special projects for me. Mike runs Solid Rock 101. That is our membership class, and he does a great job about that. And the thing about Mike and Chris is that they're definitely partners in this because Chris gets to run the errands and then Mike does the thing. So Mike will decide we need new thermostats here, and he just takes care of it. And Chris is up here while the HVAC guy is taking care of it. He decides that we need food for this, and so they're going to make it happen. And runs Solid Rock 101, ran and organized FPU. He handles our men's discipleship. And Chris is right alongside him with everything, but also is taking over all our purchasing and making sure we have supplies. She organizes potlucks and make all of that stuff happen. And she cares about it way more than I do. Because she's like, what do you want the theme to be? Like, food. I don't care. We just need to eat. And she wants to have a theme. She wants to make it nice. She wants to make it special, and she serves in that way. Kim, stand up for me. Kim runs our women's ministry. She plans a women's conference. She handles women's discipleship and the welcome team and does all of that. And is Lila in here? Lila's not in here. Lila works alongside her with those Bible studies on Saturday mornings to make sure those things happen, organize childcare and all of those things. Kim is another one that used to do a lot of other things and has shifted to more like what she needs to be doing, what those things that she cares about. She serves right alongside that, as well as being at every small group, working alongside Justin. I'm sure there's a lot of organizing and planning and telling him where he's supposed to be to make that happen, to go along with that. Our food pantry, Joy and Dennis runs that. Joy is a frugal shopper, making sure that money goes through. She's always shopping, and Dawn gets to unload all the groceries to come in, and they'll be here unloading groceries and taking care of that. Dennis is up here all the time making sure people get here. He's not content with who shows up. He is calling people that are on the list. Do you need food? Do you need to make this happen? They take care of all of that with the food pantry. Brother Roger and Miss Karen run Solid Rockers. I asked them when I first, can y'all stand up for me? I asked them when we first got here. It's like this is an area that has a ton of retired people moving here. We need to focus on providing something for those to reach those people moving into the community. And then they came back with the name Solid Rockers. I'm like, all right, let's go. And they run that to make sure that happens, to try to get people involved in that. Brother Roger teaches on Wednesday nights and teaches every Wednesday night, and he feels terrible when he can't do that. I'm like, I have not told you have to do this. You can take a break. It's okay. But he doesn't want to miss. They're up here changing signs and working on projects and making all of that stuff happen. If you are appreciative of any of the ministries to adults, these are the people that you need to be thankful to that make them happen. Let's talk about our youth. Carla, when we first got here, Carla, stand up for me. Carla was nominally in charge of Wednesday nights, meaning nobody was in charge, but everybody asked Carla. I'm like, well, let's just put you in charge. Let's do that. And then when we changed the way that we were doing our classes, we said, well, you need to be in charge of Sundays too. And now Carla is in charge of the largest ministry that we have. And this is all unpaid labor that she does. And it's grown, it's expanded to where now we have the pre-K ministry as well. Megan, stand up for me, Megan. Megan helps her, I know she loves this, working with the pre-K and making sure the pre-K is done. She does all of that. They run the Wednesday night volunteers, Sunday volunteers. But not only that, and all the things that go along with that. I don't know if you know this or not, but I am picky. And because of that, I'm very unhappy with every children's ministry and every teen ministry material that's ever been published. It's all terrible. And so I decided that we were going to write our own. And I was going to do that myself, and it was just too big of a job. And we're working on a 4-year curriculum to make sure the kids cover the entire Bible, every story, even the ones that make you uncomfortable to tell. They're memorizing Scripture. They're hearing the gospel every week. And we have 4 women that work on this every week writing that material. Can you all stand up for me? We've got Carla, Audra, Myra, and Megan. And they put their time in there to write this material, to send it to me, to deal with my edits on it, to make it happen. And they're working on a big project alongside everything else that's going on. We got about 1.5 years left, and then we'll be done, and we'll just start cycling through that material every year. But they, alongside all their other jobs, and I don't know how this happened, but they're also all 4 deacons' wives. I didn't notice that. We're all 4 deacons' wives, and they're working all of that. Stand up if you're a Wednesday night volunteer. You're here every Wednesday night doing something. Kathleen, you arrange the food. You have to stand up too. Kathleen organizes the food and makes sure we have food to eat. I don't know if you know this or not. Y'all can grab a seat. We have, 25, 30 kids that show up every Wednesday night. And there's a few people that are here every week making sure they get taught, making sure they get fed, making sure they're safe, so that you can do something else. And they're here every week. This is not a Sunday morning position where it's once every month or twice every 8 weeks. This is an every week commitment that these people make to be there, to prepare food, to have it ready, to make sure the kids are ready to go. This is a big job. Stand up for me if you're a Sunday morning volunteer, whether that's nursery, pre-K, or you work in a class. Stand up for me. I know there's a bunch of y'all in here. These people have to go through background checks. They have to be prepared with material. We've got teachers that know what they're doing and prepare crafts, know ahead of time. We got helpers that are in there, and a bunch of our teens fill in as those helpers to make sure that the kids can be taken to the bathroom, to follow our safety policies, to make sure there's more than one person in the room at all times. And they serve all the time to make that happen. Emily, stand up for me. Emily took over our teen ministry basically back 2 semesters ago. And officially this past semester. And let me tell you something, Emily enjoys being with the teenagers in a way that I don't. I'm a dad and I love them, okay? But I'm the dad that's like, yeah, y'all go have fun. She stays up all night at the lock-ins. She organizes things that they enjoy and then genuinely wants to be there. We cancel stuff, or we have to rearrange stuff, and I'm relieved. She's disappointed because she wants to be there, but she loves these teens, and the teens are there. But the thing about her and Destin, too, which Destin, you can stand up. Destin's with the teens. He's here. He's on the worship team and does that. He works with us. He's our comforting male presence with the teens, just to have another guy they can talk to. But the thing is, if I'm here for something other than just being here during the week, and Destin and Emily aren't here, something's wrong. I'm concerned. Because they're here for everything. It doesn't matter what it is. They're going to be here. And their kids know where everything is. So, because they're here all the time. Megan works with pre-K, and Lila works with the nursery. And these people make it possible for us to minister to the kids. We were talking the other day about during COVID, and what we did during COVID is, because we were trying to keep the kids 6 feet apart, and that was almost impossible, I would tape down mats, these little rubber mats, and this was their spot in the fellowship hall, and they would be on that, and we would put paper around it so they could color. And the thing is, we had to move Cooper out of that early, out of children's ministry earlier, because he was in 6th grade, and we didn't have enough space for him, because we only had 12 of those mats. And that was our big Sundays. We would have 12 kids. And right now, it's not unusual for us to have 25 or 30 kids back there on Sunday. And that ministry has grown, not because we've done anything special to reach people with kids. We've just done our normal stuff. But it's grown because when we take care of what God gives us, He gives us more to take care of. And these people make it possible for us to do that. And you might think that's all of it, but it's not all of it, because on top of the ministries that function, there's a ton of administration that has to happen. Angela, stand up for me. She's going to love this too. Angela is our treasurer. She is up here hours every week. She sneaks in, and I don't even know she's there. She'll sneak in to make sure all the money's in, to make sure everything's taken care of, to make sure the bills are paid. She's here most Wednesday nights working. She's here other hours throughout the week working on stuff. She's been hosting small group at our house. And so Clayton's there too. But if I had to guess about who was doing more cleaning, I would say Angela. Linda, stand up for me, please. Linda's our clerk. She keeps up with the business meeting and makes sure our paperwork is filed and everything's where it needs to be. She handles that and makes the bulletins. Chris isn't here. Chris does our purchasing and potlucks. Steve and Tiffany have been doing our purchasing for a couple of years now, and they're taking a break from that. Jake, stand up for me. Is Jake in here? Jake left. Jake gets paid, but he does a lot of stuff. He's here a lot of times helping, being available to make that happen. If you're on the outreach committee, stand up for me. Are you the only one here today? Nope. Okay. They plan events for us to get out in the community. They organize things to make it happen. They're available to the small groups. So the small group leaders, if they want to do something to reach out in the community, they have people there to help with that. If you're on the benevolence committee, stand up for me. Joy's not in here right now. She's out. These are the ones that deal with things that I'm glad I don't have to deal with. When somebody calls and asks for money, when somebody needs help, it goes to them. And they make a decision. And they do the difficult work of saying, should we really help this person? Is this person abusing us? How do we follow through this policy? When people ask more than once, there's some difficult questions that we ask to go through that, and they follow through with that. They have some really uncomfortable conversations. And these people are new, but they're up here all the time working, and so I want to recognize them. And this is another one of those family things. But Rick and Deb, y'all stand up for me. You don't know, like, Rick watched YouTube videos to learn how these doors work, so he could be up here fixing doors for us. Replacing things, and Clayton took apart the urinal that just keeps flushing in the men's room, and Rick was up here fixing it. And they're patching holes in the walls, and he patches the hole, and she paints. She did all the decorating for Camp Rock, is up here helping, taking a ton of stuff off of Brittany's plate when it comes to things around here. And they have, I don't know if it's dived or dove. I'll have to ask somebody else about that later. They have jumped in with both feet and serving. And the thing is, they, like a lot of other people, there are projects that are getting done that you don't even know are a project, to make sure that you never notice that and things are out of the way. There are other people that serve in other places, and I'm really sorry for not mentioning you. I've had 2 different people look over this list to see who I'm forgetting, and if I'm forgetting you, I'm sorry. But what I want you to know is that when we read this passage about one member versus many members, that the reason this church is what it is has very little to do with me and a lot to do with you. And especially these people that make sacrifices. And if you go around the room, there's very few of these people on this list that are stay at home with no job, no kids in the house, no grandkids around. They're all people who serve on top of the job, on top of the family, on top of everything that's going on. All of our deacons have either kids in the house or grandkids close by, that they are actively involved in what's going on. The only deacon we have that retired is Dennis, and he makes up for it with all the other stuff that he does. And the people in this church are what make it happen, what make it worthwhile. If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for them, this wouldn't happen. And so if you're grateful that somebody is there to take care of your kids, if you're grateful that you can trust your kids are being taught something worthwhile and not just being babysat while you're in here, if you're grateful for where we are with the music and how things have gone, and you're grateful for all the things about this building that get taken care of and you just think it's easy, you need to say thank you to these people for what they give to the Lord and what they give to you. I want to say thank you, and I know you're not doing it for me, but I want to say thank you for making this a church that I want to be at. But as we continue through this, what I see as I look through this is that we have two problems. We probably have small problems. Our body has aches and pains here and there. But as far as areas that our body has to work on, there are two things. Let's read the rest of this passage. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the members of the body, each one of them, as he chose. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. This passage, this rest of this basically tells us two things. First of all, that every piece of the body is important. Every piece of the body is important. And secondly, that every function of each piece of the body is designed, ordained, and assigned by God, not by me. That you have a vital and important function in this church. Now, for you to say, well, my part doesn't matter that much, is for you to leave us without an eye. For you to say, well, I've got a lot going on, is for you to say, well, Jesus doesn't know what he's doing, because I don't have time for that. You matter to this church. What's interesting is that we are not missing anything. If you look around at our ministries, we're not missing anything. There are other things we could have, but I don't really want them. We're fine where we're at. We're not missing anything. So what is the problem? Where are we at? Well, the problem is that a body is meant to function with two arms, not one. And we've got a right arm working while the left arm doesn't work. We've got a few people carrying too much of the load. And here's the problem. I don't know if you've ever hurt your shoulder. Maybe it's a knee. What happens is that you hurt one, and because you hurt one, you favor it, and you shift to using the other for everything, which works fine for a while. You hurt your left shoulder, so you just keep using this right arm. And there's two things that happens. First is this arm gets weak. Sometimes it'll freeze up. And like you get to where you can't even pick up a cup of coffee. It seems like picking up a cup of coffee is a difficult task when it's really not a difficult task. This arm has just been used so little that it can't do anything. And this arm is carrying the full load, which is fine until this arm goes bad too, because it's been overworked. This shoulder goes out because it was overused. The problem that we have in this church, one of the two problems that we have in this church, is not that we don't have two arms and we don't have two legs and we don't have two eyes. It's that we have two eyes and we use one of them to see. It's that we have two legs and we walk with one and limp with the other. Because we have people that God has assigned to this church that are working really, really hard. In fact, they're working too hard. And they're going to burn out. Because the other leg looks around and says, well, everything is going fine. They don't need me. I'm going to stay in my lane. But we're only going to be fine as those people who are carrying too much of the load, as long as they are able to continue to carry too much of the load. And here's what I want you to know. I love you, and I love these people whose names I called out. But I'm worried about the people whose names I called out. because you can only go with one arm for so long before you throw out the other shoulder too. And the problem is not, we don't have enough ministries right now, we don't have enough of this right now, we don't have enough of that right now. The problem is that we need a second arm, and we need a second eye, and we need a second leg, and we need a second kidney. And it's not that Jesus has failed in giving us that second arm, because Jesus has given us everything we need. Everything we need to do the work that we've been given to do right here, we have what we need. You know that? We have all the people we need to do the work that God has given us to do. If all the people that God has given us do the work, we have all that we need to do the work. We have, well, this is not what this sermon is about, but we have all the money that we need to do everything that we need to do, if all the people that God has given us give as God leads them to. We have everything we need. We just have a limp. And I know that some of you have been burnt out before, and some of you have been hurt before, and you just need a break, but I want you to consider how long that break has been. See, when you hurt your shoulder, or you hurt your knee, they say, keep the weight off of it. Don't use it. But that's not for years, right? Take a break for 12 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. Get healed up and then get back in. Because the first break is rest. And the rest of the rest is disuse. And if you were burnt out or you were hurt a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and you're still taking a break, you've gone beyond recovery, and you've just gone past recovery. And I understand now picking up a cup of coffee or doing something small seems difficult. I get that. But it's not because it's actually difficult. It's because you have gotten so used to disuse that everything is hard. But if you'll jump in there and you'll serve in the way that God has called you to, whatever that role is, you will grow, you will get stronger, and we will too. Here's the second problem that we have, is that we are homebodies. You know that? Our body is a homebody. It works really well at the house and gets really difficult when it goes out of the house, right? In these walls, in our events, we function so well. Everything goes so well. Things get done. We're happy together. We have encouragement. All those things go really well. But what happens when we go outside these walls? Let me just ask, and I don't want to start any new ministries. Please, dear Lord, no more ministries. I don't want to start any more ministries, but do the ministries we have do anything for anybody beyond these walls? Your small group that hopefully you'll get into this fall or tonight at 5 o'clock. Does your small group sit inside somewhere and talk about the Bible with people who are already saved and already a part of this church? Are you getting out into that neighborhood to invite somebody else in? Those of you who are going through men's and women's discipleship and you're learning how to have that relationship and be held accountable and hold accountable, are you just taking those things and applying it with those people in that group, or are you taking that and applying it to people outside of that group as well? Let's get away from ministries. Let's just talk about individually. We just had Camp Rock. We're sharing the gospel, kids, we're doing all this. Thank you for serving. I appreciate it. How many of those kids in your neighborhood did you invite to come to Camp Rock? How many of those people in your neighborhood that are lost and on their way to hell have you invited into these services? So you don't have to share the gospel, you don't have to do anything, you can just outsource all the work to me. How many of them have you invited here? Maybe you don't outsource it. Maybe you obey Jesus. How many of them have you actually shared the gospel with in your neighborhood, at your work? Guys, we have a great church that functions really well, but we're homebodies. We're a homebody. And this body was not meant to stay at home, but this body was meant to get out in this community. And I think one of the problems with having such a nice facility is we want to stay in here. That's what happens when you have a nice house. You stay at home. If you live in a camper, you get out a little bit more, right? Maybe God has blessed us too much. And we're so comfortable on the couch. We're so comfortable in the home. We're so comfortable where our coffee is and our stuff is that we've forgotten that there is a whole community out there that this body is meant to serve. If I looked around and I could just fix two things about our church, it would be that I would get those people that God has a purpose for here, but who are not fulfilling that purpose to step up and fulfill it. And the thing is, I don't know what that purpose is, and I don't know which one of you are not fulfilling it because I can't see inside the body, and Jesus is the one that decides this, not me, but I know that there are some pieces of our body that are not functioning. And I can't call out to you which pieces those are or which people they are, and I wouldn't do that anyway. Let's go around the room, stand up, everybody that's not doing their job. That's a great way to get fired. I'm not going to do that because I really don't know the answer. But you do. And if I could get you to do one thing, it would first be to fulfill the purpose that God has for you. Because I think if you did that, I think if you took that step of growth, it would grow you everywhere else too. Right? You start walking, so you're trying to get your 10,000 steps a day and your legs get stronger. But that's not the only thing that happens. You get healthier overall because you make one change in the right direction. And if you didn't do anything else, you just found and fulfilled your purpose here as a part of this body, everything else would change too. The second thing is I would get us out of the house. There are people all over Bentonville, all over Centerton, Cave Springs, Rogers, and even those other places that are on their way to hell. And Jesus loved them enough to say, I am coming to rescue them. I will give up my own life on the cross to rescue them. And then I will empower and authorize and charge solid rock to go and reach them. That is God's grand plan to save the universe. And we say, I'm really more comfortable at home. I'm really more comfortable just in this building. I'm really more comfortable just working in these ministries. What if our body was not a home body? What if our body was a body that went out and functioned throughout the week, not through new ministries, but you taking what you learned at home and taking it out to the people that you're with every week? What would happen in here if we went out there? We had 115 kids, about 115 kids running around in here every night at Camp Rock. All of those kids need to hear the gospel. And you know, it's funny, we've got these Hindu kids that come in. I'd say, I don't know, I would guess like 60% of our kids that came in were Indian, and a bunch of them were Hindus. And we'd hear these things like, I really like this temple. Like, this is a good temple. I wish I could come to this temple instead of my temple. And we have little lost souls that Jesus died for running around in here, making messes and causing problems. Which is exactly what Jesus intended, not for Camp Rock, but for all the time. I love this church. I really do. And I don't want to be anywhere else. If God makes me go somewhere else, He's going to have to make me do it. But just imagine what would happen if our left leg worked and not just the right. Imagine what would happen if we had 2 working kidneys. Imagine what would happen if you stepped up and fulfilled your responsibility to Jesus here. And imagine what would happen if we would take what we do here and move it out there. To the faithful who have already found their place and are already serving, thank you. I know you don't do it for me. Thank you. I love that my wife and my kids and my extended family get to be a part of this church. Thank you. To those of you who are still figuring it out and you want that, but you're not sure what it looks like or where it looks like, maybe you're new here, maybe you've just been here for a short time. And by a short time, I mean a couple of months. You've just been here for a little while and you're not sure yet. I ain't mad at you. I'm not. Take your time and figure it out. We want you here. but we want you where Jesus wants you more. But for those of you who think, I'm just an ear, I don't matter. We've already got an ear. You don't need me. Those of you who think, we've already got an eye. We don't need another eye. Understand that the reason you're here is because Jesus thought we needed you. And he said, the work is not going to get done the way I want it done unless we have you. And he equipped you and designed you and has gifted you for the role that he has for you. And you may think they've got all those people. I'm not those people. What you don't understand is we need you so that those people can continue. Because without you, they're going to burn out, they're going to throw out that shoulder, and we're going to be done. But if we all fulfill our role, whatever that role is, it's going to be something amazing. I think that the big problem that I have is church is my whole life, right? Because it's my job and it's what we do the rest of the time too. And so church and homeschooling really are our whole life. And you say, well, that's because you're a pastor. I'm like, yeah, kind of. But I wouldn't be in this job if I didn't think this mattered. I wouldn't be in this role if I didn't think that I was a person who was lost and rescued by the blood of Jesus and brought in and adopted to the family and given a purpose. I would not be here doing what I'm doing if I didn't already believe that. And not everybody feels that way. Some people feel like this is a thing that you do when you have time. Some people feel like this is a thing that you do when the week hasn't been too hard. And if that's your perspective, I want to challenge you to think about what Jesus has done for you, what he's offered you, and what he's calling you to do. Because this is just a thing that you do when you have time. I get it. I get why you're not getting more involved. I get why you're not sacrificing for what Jesus has called. I get that. But I think when you recognize what this is and what's happening, you won't be able to resist. Would you stand with me? Our Heavenly Father, we come before you right now, and I'm so grateful for the people that you've given us, the people that you've placed into this body, that you can be trusted to give us everything we need. I'm so grateful for that, Lord. And I'm grateful for those who step up and serve in big ways that everybody sees and people that serve in ways that nobody sees, Lord. I'm so grateful. And Lord, I'm grateful even for those who have not found their place yet. Because you're still patient and you're still growing them and you haven't given up on them. You're still going in that direction. But I'm grateful that you've given them to us. And I ask that they would see their value in your kingdom. That they would see their place in your kingdom. They would see their place in this church as a part of this body. And that they would stretch and grow to fill that role. Help us not to be a body that stays at home, but a body that goes into the community. Let our neighborhoods be places where the people have been invited to the church, where the kids have been invited to kids' stuff, and where the gospel has been shared separate from all the church talk. Let us make our goal to be pleasing and honoring to you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.